Transportation Committee meeting to order. First item on the agenda is a roll call, followed by a posting of agenda, and we'll skip the flag salute as we're video conferencing. Can we have the roll call, please?
Member Flynn. Member
I see
Flynn.
him, but I don't think he hears us.
We do see him on the big screen. Mr. Mayor, nod.
Okay.
I'm on.
Okay.
There he is.
Got it. Member McDonald
Here.
and Chair Perrello.
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum, and the agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall kiosk on Tuesday, March 17th.
Do we have any public comments?
No, we do not. Oh, sorry.
We do have one that was submitted from Mr. Raymond Blattell, and I believe it's related to streets. He didn't specify, so I'm going to go ahead and read it now, if that's okay. So this
Yes, thank you.
is submitted from Mr. Blattell. He says, I think we can all agree that the city currently has a traffic problem, and it will only get worse with time. One of the causes of traffic tie-ups is the quantity of semi-trailer tractors on our streets. These tie-ups are for multiple reasons. First, the trucks are very lengthy, in excess of 65 feet in some cases, which consumes an average space of about 4 car lengths. Secondly, they are slow in town and accelerate slowly from a stop, which also impedes the efficient flow of traffic. Thirdly, they have difficulty navigating tight corners in cities and block traffic as they are attempting these tight turns. In order to mitigate the problems caused by these large vehicles on our city streets, one recommendation is to limit the times which they have access. The Oxnard Police Chief has already stated that we have a commuter-based population. This lends to high volume and high speeds during peak traffic hours and the need for efficient traffic flow. Limiting access would be easy and quick to institute. It would not totally solve the problem, but it would help. Perhaps prohibiting vehicles with more than 3 axles on the city streets between the hours of 5:30 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., as an example, on weekdays might help mitigate these traffic issues. Another point which comes to mind is the impact these large vehicles have on our streets. We can all agree that the condition of the streets in Oxnard are among the worst in the county. Again, one reason is these large vehicles and the heavy load impact on our city streets. Even when not loaded, with the trailer bouncing at the uneven surfaces, the resulting rebound makes the uneven surface worse. An alternative method would be to totally eliminate these type of vehicles from our streets altogether. This would be accomplished by establishing distribution points on the outskirts of the city. The large trucks could transfer their loads to smaller vehicles, 3 axles or less, for delivery to the local businesses within the city. Wear and tear on our streets would be reduced/eliminated in addition to traffic flow issues. Of course, this would be expensive for our local businesses to implement and obviously couldn't be accomplished overnight. In order to reduce the cost of to businesses, the city could look into state grants as they currently do for public safety issues and assist the business to implement the plan. That's the end of his public comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, very quickly, the city attorney wants me to explain that that came in via email yesterday. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to the city attorney and to the city manager. Before we go further, I'd like to thank George and Jerome for helping me get this technical stuff straightened out. So thank you. Okay, moving on to the first item, C1, the city clerk department, the approval of the minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
If I could
Aye.
if I could do a roll call vote, please.
Okay, all right. Yes, go ahead.
Member Flynn,
Aye.
Member McDonald,
Yes.
Chair Perrello.
Yes.
The motion carries 3-0.
The next item is reports, and it's the Public Works Department. The subject, execute contract amendments and approve budget appropriations for the Rice Avenue at Fifth Street grade separation project, and I'll let staff read the recommendations, please.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Tatiana Arnaud, your city engineer, and I'm here to request the execution of a couple of contract amendments and for approval on budget appropriations for the Rice Avenue at Fifth Street grade separation project. The recommendations are as follows: that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend the City Council to approve and authorize, 1, the mayor to execute the First Amendment to Caltrans Cooperative Agreement Number 07-5065 upon receipt, identifying Caltrans will perform the right-of-way acquisition, relocation assistance, and condemnation in the amount of $1,200,000 for Project 133101 from the State Trade Corridor Enhancement Program Fund. Second, for the mayor to execute the Second Amendment to WKE Incorporated Agreement A-8094 to increase the amount by $3,056,880.66 for a total of $8,909,080.94 to complete the plans, specification, and estimates for Project 133101 from the State Trade Corridor Enhancement Program Fund 189. Number 3, for the city manager to execute a budget appropriation increase of $116,075 in the Circulation System Improvement Fees Fund 354 for Project 133101. And lastly, number 4, the city manager to execute a budget appropriation decrease of $537,000 in the State Trade Corridor Enhancement Program Fund 189 for Project 133101. So I'm aware that you guys have some history with this project, but a little bit more background. The project will construct a new bridge along Rice Avenue over 5th Street in order to grade separate the intersection and railroad crossing. Currently, the California Public Utilities Commission prioritizes this project as second in the state on the grade separation priority list. The project will enhance safety by eliminating conflicts among vehicles, pedestrians, bicyclists, trains at the Union Pacific Railroad. It will also relieve congestion, reduce emissions, and facilitate commerce by improving access to the Port of Hueneme. What you're seeing on the screen right now is the existing intersection. You have Rice Avenue, which runs north-south. Then you have 5th Street on the western leg of the intersection, and you have State Route 34 on the western leg of the intersection. What this is showing you is that you have an interaction here between the county, the city, and Caltrans all in one intersection.
Just time out, Ms. Tatiana, please.
Yes.
Does anybody see anything on the screen? I'm not seeing something on the screen.
I actually have the PowerPoint pulled up on my other monitor, and I'm watching it, following it.
Okay, okay, all right.
Yeah, just give the clerk a second. She's actually going to pull it up for you. Can you see it now?
I can't see it yet.
No, we'd like the public to be able to see it. That's what we're.
Yeah, give us a minute, we'll get it up.
Can you see it now?
No,
Not yet.
yes. I see it.
Perfect, thank you, we'll continue.
Fantastic.
We'll go back half a second.
Yeah. So I was showing you this the intersection. The intersection, you guys are probably familiar with this. You have Rice running north-south, 5th Street on the west side of the intersection, and State Route 24 on the east side. So going into the next slide. It's okay. I do want to preface this slide with letting you know that the project team will be doing an in-depth presentation on how we actually got to the current alignment. I will be brief in my version right now, but I feel it's important to, at a minimum, outline this for you. So as you may recall, back in April of 2017, Senate Bill 1, or otherwise known as the gas tax, was passed. At that time, this project was in the preliminary engineering phase and had not yet completed environmental. So the team analyzed several alignments using the benefit-cost ratio method, which is basically an indicator that summarizes the overall value for money of a project. Using this method, the original alignment was selected, and images of this alignment will be showed to you here shortly. Applications for the SB1 Trade Corridor Enhancement Program grant, or otherwise known as TSEP, were due in January of 2018. So in order to meet this deadline, cost estimates for the project were completed in December of 2017. This is really important to note because environmental was still not completed, and what that means is that the project team could not be in contact with the affected property owners, and utility agencies could not commence design work until after environmental was completed. So we were kind of a little bit ahead of ourselves here. So due to the inability to obtain estimates from utility agencies, Caltrans estimating methods were used for both the property acquisition and to estimate the utility relocation costs. This is pretty much the next best thing you can do if you don't have the design completed, but you need estimates. A few months later, pretty much in May of 2018 to be precise, environmental and preliminary engineering phases were completed. This allowed the project team to move into the PS&E phase, or plan specs and estimates phase, where the property owners and utility agencies got involved in the project to start their relocation designs, and so they can start talking about what the acquisition looks like. Then 65% plans and estimates from the utility agencies and project teams started filtering in early December 2018, January 2019-ish, showing significant cost increases. The largest cost increases being with the utility relocations, followed by the right-of-way acquisition, and then there were also some increases in the construction phase due to market escalation, which we've honestly seen with other projects as well. Next slide. So in order to mitigate the costs, the project development team, which includes the design consultant WKE, the city, the county, Caltrans, and VCTC staff, selected to shift the roadway alignment of Rice Avenue 250 feet to the east. An image of that will also be shown here shortly. So this alignment was studied during the preliminary engineering phase and is now deemed to be the most cost-effective considering the current cost estimate. This kind of goes back to the BCR that I was describing earlier. The alignment eliminates the majority of the utility relocations, reduces the number of right-of-way parcels needed, and eliminates the need to construct a temporary at-grade crossing and detour road. However, the project still maintains the same deliverables, which is the grade-separated bridge, 2 traffic signals, sidewalk, and bicycle lanes. So here's an image of the original project alignment. This one shows the temporary road as well as the temporary railroad crossing. Don't let the word temporary fool you in this case, because that's actually a full at-grade crossing that costs as much as a permanent one. So that would have been an added cost to the project. This alignment does show, you'll see in blue there, that's the actual bridge. Otherwise, it's pretty much on top of the existing Rice alignment. And this one did have 2 connector roads in the design. The one on the west side, I want to note that also had a lot of utility relocations associated with it. So this is the new project alignment that we're moving forward with. This has been shifted 250 feet to the east. And basically, what I want to note here is that as a driver, you won't really notice a difference between one and the other. The maneuvering between, it's a little exaggerated here in an aerial view, but it'll feel pretty much the same, except it's going to be much less expensive. So just kind of showing a side-by-side comparison of the two, you'll notice that the new project alignment does not have that temporary road or the railroad crossing, and it did remove one of the connector roads, so further reducing the need to do the utility relocations. So getting into the CTC funding, in December of 2019, the CTC approved this new shifted alignment, the schedule changes, and addendum to the environmental document. And they actually identified additional TSEP funding for all the phases, including what was previously allocated for PS&E and right-of-way in the amount of $12.4 million. And they actually added an additional allocation for PS&E and right-of-way of $18.7 million, bringing the total up to $31.1 million for PS&E and right-of-way. Also, they programmed, or otherwise known as earmarked, construction funding. So previously, we had 56.2 million programmed for construction. They added another 19.7 million, bringing the total earmarked funding to $75.9 million. So, in regards to the First Amendment to the Caltrans Cooperative Agreement, Caltrans District 7 will now provide the right-of-way support by leading the property acquisition because, quite frankly, they're just better equipped to do so. The right-of-way phase identifies 2.5 million in TSEP grant funding, which includes 1.2 million for work to be performed by Caltrans staff for right-of-way acquisition support. The 1.3 million is going to be for city staff time, the WKE contract, and county support. Approval of this First Amendment to the Caltrans Cooperative Agreement identifies the $1.2 million for their right-of-way support. So the right-of-way phase also includes 19.2 million for right-of-way capital, which includes the right-of-way acquisition, relocation assistance, and condemnation. So really what I mean by that is that Caltrans will be drawing the money directly from TSEP and not through the city. Getting into the decrease of the TSEP grant allocation. So originally, there was $12.4 million in TSEP grant funding that was allocated by council for PSNE and right-of-way. Since Caltrans is now leading that right-of-way acquisition effort, only 11.9 million of the 12.4 million will be utilized by the city for PSNE right-of-way support and right-of-way utility work. Therefore, we are requesting a budget appropriation decrease of $537,000 to be removed from the project because A, we do not need it, and B, it would not be reimbursed if we were to use it, so really it's a safeguard for the project team. To summarize how this is being drawn down, there was the initial allocation of 12.4 for the city. We're removing 537,000, bringing us to 11.9 million, and Caltrans got approval for the $19.2 million to draw down from TSEP. So City Council approved the original agreement with WKE for PSNE phase in July of 2018 and a First Amendment in June of 2019. We're requesting an additional $3 million for WKE to complete this PSNE phase for the new alignment using the TSEP grant funding. The scope of the work for this amendment includes the cost comparison of alignment alternatives, geometric design alignment feasibilities, updated CPUC nomination application, supplemental project report, design standard decision documents, right-of-way engineering, and geotechnical and hazardous waste drilling work plans. This will be further described in that report that I was describing earlier, where the team will come and do an in-depth analysis on this. So due to the cost increases for the project, the city did conduct an independent peer review of WKE's work for the new alignment. We requested quotes from 3 engineering firms and ended up contracting with Dockin Engineering. WKE agreed to reimburse us for Dockin's review of their work up to the 65% plan submittal in the amount of $116,000, which was deposited into the Circulation System Improvement Fees Fund. There were no findings as a result of the peer review that Dockin did. They only provided suggestions. Therefore, we are actually looking to proceed with WKE for the remainder of the project. And finally, to summarize the financial impact, the total value of the First Amendment to the Caltrans Cooperative Agreement shall not exceed $1.2 million. The total value of the Second Amendment to WKE agreement shall not exceed $3 million. A budget appropriation of $116,000 from the Circulation System Improvement Fees Fund is needed to reflect the reimbursement from WKE for the peer review work. And lastly, a budget appropriation decrease of $537,000 from the Trade Corridor Enhancement Fund as a safeguard so that the funds aren't spent by the city. That does conclude my presentation. I would usually have staff here to answer any questions that I can't. However, due to the current circumstances, they are watching this from home right now and will be able to provide responses in written form if I'm not able to respond, or otherwise we would be updating this report for council.
Do we have any public comments on this one? We did have a public comment that was read by the city manager on this one. No.
No, that was
We did
under,
not have, yeah, we did not have a public comment on this one. Has any new come in?
no, there
Comments?
haven't.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Michelle. The fellow commissioners, do you have comments?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
On the original plans, Eastman was going to be terminated at Rice. Is that still going to be terminated, or is there going to be access on the Rice side now?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Originally, Eastman was going to terminate at Rice Avenue, and now with the movement of the road to the east, are we still going to have access to Eastman from that side, or no?
No, I believe that's going to terminate in a cul-de-sac, but I will have the project team send you a response to that.
All right, thank you very much.
Any further question?
Yeah. My question is, could we find out what the timeline is? Just, I don't know how this, realignment to the east, how that's going to affect the timeline.
So in the actual PowerPoint presentation, we did put estimated construction begin and end dates on slide 11. So we anticipate construction to begin in December of 2022. And yeah, it would be ending in August of 2026. It's a 4-year-long project.
Okay, very good. Okay, that's my only question. Thank you.
Ms. Sutherland, thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you for clearing up some things and giving us a little bit of history without writing a novel. I appreciate your clarity on this. One question. It is going to be now abandoned. Who's going to have ownership of that, and who's going to have the liability of that?
It would remain within, whatever's in the city boundaries will be in our purview. Anything that's in the county will be theirs, and on State Route 34 would be Caltrans.
Is there anything in the city's right of way or purview that becomes surplus property for sale?
Not that I'm aware of at this moment.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Thanks to all involved.
You're welcome.
And
I'd move the recommended actions.
Second?
may we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Flynn,
Aye.
Member McDonald,
Yes.
Chair Perrello.
Yes.
The motion carries 3-0.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is another report, Public Works Department. The subject, Senate Bill 1, Local Streets and Road Maintenance Rehabilitation Account, RMRA Funding and Project List. And I'll have the staff read the recommendations. And we did have an earlier public comment, which from Mr. Blattel, which our city manager read into the record. Thank you.
All right, are you guys able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
So this is basically the SB1 RMRA funding and project list presentation. I am Tatiana Arnaud, city engineer. So we're looking for the following recommendation, that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend the City Council adopt a resolution to, 1, adopt the fiscal year 2020-21 project list of Senate Bill 1, newly proposed projects which will be funded in part or solely with road maintenance and rehabilitation account revenues. 2, authorize the use of funds for prior year road maintenance and rehabilitation account in the amount of $6,529,977. There we go. Thank you. And the new fiscal year 2021 funds of $3,963,952 for a total amount of $10,493,929. And third, authorize the city manager to take whatever actions are necessary and appropriate to carry out the purpose and intent of the resolution. So, as I mentioned in the previous report, in April of 2017, the governor signed Senate Bill 1, or SB 1, also known as the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. This increases fuel taxes and vehicle registration charges to provide the state with an estimated $5.4 billion annually to fix our roads, freeways, and bridges throughout the state. So this funding is distributed through several programs, including the per capita and competitive grants, which RMRA is a part of. So RMRA does provide the city with a monthly apportionment on a per capita basis. RMRA funding may only be used for the road maintenance and rehabilitation projects when cities have a pavement condition index of 79 or below. Our pavement condition index is estimated to be currently now at 58. This kind of goes back to the census, right? We want to make sure that we capture every head in this city, because then the idea is that we're going to be entitled to more of this kind of funding. So to secure this RMRA funding, the CTC requires the city to submit a resolution listing the projects for the estimated annual apportionment. So you may or may not know, but we do maintenance and rehab of 383 street miles, another 70 alley miles, and 61 parking lots in the city. That's a lot of miles there. We perform the inspections on a 3-year rotation, and it's done by a consultant called Pavement Engineering, Inc. They do a third of the residential and collector streets each year, and they do 100% of the arterial roads throughout the city. They use a pavement management system to assist us with tracking the inventory, storing the work history, and furnishing the budget estimates to optimize the funding for our pavement system. They also identify the candidate streets for the potential repair and maintenance. They use a variety of measurements to determine the pavement condition index, which include how many cracks there are in a mile of pavement, how deep and long those cracks are, what the pattern is, and what percentage of road segment displays those deficiencies. These deficiency patterns could include alligator cracking, block cracking, longitudinal cracking, transverse cracking, distortions, utility cuts and patches, rutting and depression, such as at the bus stops, and your normal wear and tear. Again, we'll have PEI up here in hopefully late spring, early summer, doing a more detailed report on how this is done. So these patterns and the percentage of the roadway segment are entered into our Street Saver program, which is basically our pavement management system program, and it generates a PCI for us. PEI, in conjunction with the city, uses that information to determine what the most cost-effective repair strategy is. So you definitely want to repair those that are in those streets that are in disrepair, but you want to maintain the ones that are in decent condition so that they don't get to the point where they're looking like the rest of the roads. So PEI will basically take this cost of the repair and the life expectancy to determine what the annual maintenance cost should be. This is incredibly critical because we don't want to spend more than what's necessary on an annual basis on road maintenance, especially as we find ourselves strapped for money in this category. Another critical factor when the roadway is when the roadway should be paved, right? So the timing of the paving of the roads is critical in this analysis. If you don't time them correctly, it can, lead to additional repairs due to deferred maintenance, which is something we're trying to avoid. So then, Public Works, we take this information and we consider how the timing of the street repair matches up with the timing of the pipe replacement needs. So in particular, I'm speaking to the water cast iron pipe replacements, and how the streets can be grouped together in a way that maximizes cost effectiveness and efficiency. So this analysis as a whole is used to create our pavement management program. And again, like I mentioned earlier, PEI is scheduled to provide a more detailed report on this in the early summer. So in fiscal year 2021, the state estimates that the city will receive about $4 million of new RMRA funds. So we are recommending that City Council adopt a resolution proposing the following projects utilize this new funding, and $6.5 million of the prior year's RMRA for a total of $10.5 million. These projects include the much anticipated Rice Avenue Street Resurfacing Project, the Thin Maintenance Overlay Phase 2 project, which will be coming in front of you on April 14th. The Colonia Thin Maintenance Overlay project, Phase 2 project, residential street resurfacing, which will cover many residential streets scattered throughout the city. It's not necessarily targeted to one neighborhood. And the East and West Gonzales Road Street Resurfacing projects. These were identified through the pavement management system as needing resurfacing. And as we go through each of these streets, we'll be pulling them up in an orderly manner based on whatever the system is telling us needs to be done next. That does conclude this presentation. I can take any questions.
Do committee members have any questions?
No, I apologize for the extra head in the screenshot here. My dog has chosen to have an anxiety attack in the middle of all.
It's a good looking dog.
Doesn't look out of place.
Yeah.
Sadly, he probably looks better than I do right now, but that's okay.
Mayor, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. My questions are along the lines of the resurfacing, and it's talking about Rice Avenue, $390,000. I know that certain upgrades need to be made to Rice Avenue for the state of California to accept the Rice Avenue to take that over as the new connector from Highway 1, in other words, to the freeway. Is this street resurfacing the last item that needs to be completed before the state is ready to take over the road?
No, this in fact is just a stopgap measure to hold the street over until the new bridge comes through, because we do anticipate heavy truck loading due to the bridge having to be transported to the Rice and Fifth intersection. So this is kind of going to hold us over for the next 5 to 10 years, and thereafter we would have to take those measures to turn it over to the state based on whatever it is that they need us to do. This is not for that purpose.
Okay, and then with I understand that you know we're talking about RMA funding in SB1, but I guess I'm trying to understand these allocations in the context of the overall needs. As an example, La Colonia, there's going to be a thin maintenance overlay, phase 2. I don't know if all of the Colonia projects have actually now been completed. Where does that stand? I'm trying to understand this allocation in the context of the big picture.
Right. So phase 1 was completed about 2 years ago, and that was hitting mostly the northern area of La Colonia neighborhood. This phase 2 is going to essentially be everything south of Cooper Road and the majority of the eastern edge of Colonia. So you're going to have a portion in the center where you have Cooper and Colonia Road. That's not going to be done through this project. And the reason being is we do have right-of-way issues there that we're trying to resolve because of ADA compliance issues. And so we're going to go ahead and move forward with those streets that we could get done without having to do any sort of moving of fences or figuring out exactly what it is that the community wants us to do in terms of that. That will be coming next fiscal year, 2 fiscal years from now.
Okay.
And that would
And
complete
last
Colonia.
question- Yes, and the last question is about residential street resurfacing. We have a allocation appropriation of 1.5 million approximately. Which streets are going to be residential streets resurfacing projects are slated for that amount? Do you know?
There are several streets. What I could do is I could have staff send you a map we have created showing what those streets are.
Okay. Those are my final questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you please clarify the comment with respect to the Colonia community and input? My understanding was that there had been some improvements and there was a possibility of, because of the right of way and where the property lines were, it took involvement potentially moving fences. Has that been addressed throughout the neighborhood or only in the area where the streets were improved?
So we'll need to address that, like I said, on mostly Cooper and Colonia roads. That's where we're finding the majority of these issues lie. And so again, we're going to have to work closely with the community to find a solution for that, which we have not done yet. We're going to be doing community outreach this next fiscal year to keep that moving forward.
Okay. I'd like to compliment you on using the analysis of the census, that everybody that gets counted, the better off we are in the funding thing. So that's a good shot by you. Thank you. I would like to address the comment from the public member that he said that the city, the comment, I believe, because I don't have it in front of me, we all know these are the worst in the county. I disagree. I've been to other communities in the city that have at least as challenging, and I believe if not more challenging. I don't want to take that award if we're not deserving of it. And I do appreciate the public comment, but I needed to address that. I do appreciate this presentation. Thank you. I hope that we have more letting neighborhoods know that we don't have a challenge, that certain areas of the community are favored when it comes to repairing, so that we know that we spread the work out according to the criteria that you've addressed, Ms. Aronut. And again, thank you for the report. With that, do we have a recommendation by the committee?
Move the recommended action.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote, please? I support that.
Member McDonald?
Yes.
Member Flynn?
Aye.
Chair Prower?
Yes.
The motion to approve carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Moving to item number 3, Public Works Department. The subject, award trade services agreement A8208 to Natural Green Landscape Incorporated for landscape maintenance services at various city facilities. And can we have staff report, please read the recommendation? Thank you.
Good afternoon, committee chair, committee members. Brian Yanes, Assistant Public Works Director. Today we have an agreement A8208 with Natural Green Landscape for landscaping maintenance services for various city facilities. The recommendation is that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute trade services agreement number A8208 with Natural Green Landscape, Inc. for a total agreement value of $356,112 for a term of 3 years to provide landscape maintenance services at various city facilities. We put out a bid in November, and we received we put out a bid in November for landscape maintenance services for 12 locations within the city at city facilities. There are several water blending stations. Environmental Resources has 2 locations, Oxnard Police Department, Sturgis Annex, the water campus, and a vacant lot adjacent to the water campus, Oxnard Transit Center, another water blending station, the wastewater treatment plant, advanced water purification facility, and another blending station. So a total of 12 locations that this contract will take care of. Some of the photos here are some of the facilities: the Oxnard Transit Center, the water campus, the advanced water purification facility, and the wastewater treatment plant are some of the locations. Our previous contract with Groundskeeper Inc. expired in November. We are currently utilizing Citicorp to provide services for these locations. Purchasing Department received 3 responsive bids in December. Natural Green Landscape was selected as the lowest responsible and responsive bid. Staff has verified vendor meets all insurance requirements, possesses a business tax certificate, and is registered with the California Secretary of State. The total cost for the 3-year agreement is $356,000. Funds for this fiscal year are approximately $31,000. The remaining agreement balance will be requested in subsequent fiscal years in each respective fund. There are several departments and divisions that are utilizing this contract: water, wastewater treatment plant, advanced water purification facility, environmental resources, trees and medians, Oxnard Police Annex, Oxnard Transit Center. The table here shows this fiscal year a total of the $31,000 I spoke of earlier, and then the respective following fiscal years, a total of $356,112 for the 3-year contract. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
City Clerk, there was no other speaker cards on this?
No, there aren't.
Thank you. The committee members have questions?
No.
Yes. Mr. Chair, my question to Mr. Yanes is, he said that Citicorp has been providing this service, and Mr. Yanes, is Citicorp able to do it for less than the proposed contract with Natural Green Landscape?
At the moment, Citicorp is providing the bare essentials, just keeping these grounds respectable. So we during this process, during this term where we didn't have a contractor, so we prefer that we have a landscape contractor provide these services. I thank Citicorp for their services, for stepping in and assisting, but they wouldn't be the appropriate entity to provide these services.
I understand. And then the last question is, to have a variety of landscape contractors in the city, how many different landscape contractors do we actually have, in addition to Natural Green Landscape, if we approve the item?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I know that we have one in Special District, which is Garcia. Garcia is also doing River Park. I'm not sure of any other the names off the top of my head. I can get that to you after this meeting today.
Yeah, the only reason, Mr. Chair and Committee Member McDonald, I'm asking, and Mr. Yanes, I'm asking this question, is I don't know is there a landscape company that, number one, has the capacity to provide all of the bidded out landscaping services for the city? And if so, could we potentially save money? And then the second issue is, it does seem like over time, we have changed a lot of these landscape companies, or in some instances, because they haven't been performing adequately. So I see the advantage of having multiple landscape companies providing services, because we not only can we compare and contrast, but we might have a little bit more flexibility. But have we ever taken a look at that, Mr. Yanes, about is there one landscaping company that has the capacity to provide all of these services for the city?
So currently we have a pre-qualification for landscape services that they pre-qualify twice a year. So off that list, we send out our bids to. Currently we have, I believe, 4. I don't have the names off the top of my head that we provided these bids to. They're all able to bid on these. So it's not just one company. We gave them an opportunity to. So it's likely to have one company service all the areas in the city. However, it depends on what they're bidding and the amount that comes to us.
I see. I don't know if in reply to my question, I know that you said, look, we put this out there, we put it out to bid and everything else, but I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know of an instance where we've ever put all of these contracts out to bid at the same time. So therefore, various landscaping companies are bidding separately. So from as a policy standpoint, the only reason I'm asking it is, could we save money if we went with one landscaping contractor? And is there a landscaping contractor large enough to be able to provide all these services, all of them that we need?
We have several citywide contracts out there. This is not one of them. Throughout these services that we have with landscape, we've had different terminations at different dates. So we have not compiled one citywide contract, but it's something we could look into in the future as we bid out things for landscape services.
Yeah, and of course, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Yanes and Committee Member McDonald, again, to repeat, the only reason I'm asking this is I don't know if we could save money. That's it. That's my only reason for that, to do that. So that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. For the general public, everybody listening, saving money is a high sin, especially when you're in government. Second, I would like to thank Mr. Yanes for using that pointer that highlights what he's looking at when he's using his pointer. That's an extremely helpful item. And the third, I'd like to address the mayor's comment about going out. If we have one company large enough to do all the business, and we have an incident like which recently happened, we had a company that did not perform, would there be a second company large enough to do all the business? I think in some things it is good to split your business with different suppliers. An example, if you raise lemons, you'd like to be in more than one packing house to compare one to the other and compare their job, hold them all accountable. I appreciate the work and I appreciate the conversation, because there is definitely nothing wrong with looking to save money in the city of Oxnard. Other cities can do what they want, but in the city of Oxnard, watching our P's and Q's and nickels and dimes counts for a lot. Do we have a recommendation on this item by the committee? I'll make the motion to support it.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Member Flynn.
Aye.
Member McDonald.
Aye.
Chair Perillo.
Yes.
The motion to approve carries 3-0.
And the next item on the agenda, I'd like to, again, thank all the committee members and all the speakers and Mr. Yanes for the presentation. On the next item, it says items for future agendas. Do we have any recommendations or suggestions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I asked at the last council meeting that we take a look at, I didn't realize we were going to have this meeting today, so that we take a look at the upcoming requirement to remove food waste from our refuse cycle or refuse chain. And that my understanding is we have 3 biodigesters at the wastewater treatment plant that would be able to facilitate this. It's just a matter of determining a way to get it from point A to point B in a condition that can be serviced down there. So I'd like to see us take a look at complying with that upcoming mandate so we don't get caught at the last moment trying to scramble and get something done.
Okay, I see no reason why that can't be put on the committee's agenda.
We'll be bringing that report back to this committee. Thank you, Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Chair? I
Yes.
just have one request. At the last, at the minutes that we just approved, you had complimented the staff, maintenance staff, for their work done on Victoria Avenue. And I would like to just get a brief report, very brief report, on what we've been able to do to address the medians. I don't know. I think, first of all, I think it's great that they did the work on Victoria. I'm very happy about that. And my request has always been that we take a look at how, remember we were going to have some cost savings, and I said it would be a council public policy recommendation about if we have savings, and I can't remember what the savings exactly are coming from, that we're actually maybe taking some and I think it was maybe bond refinancing is what it was, and that we take some of those savings and that they can be allocated towards further work on median maintenance. Because, Mr. Chair, as we've seen, we're not able to get volunteers to do this work because of the liabilities that it presents to the city. So that's what I would like to see. Very brief report on how to do that, and or to the city manager if in fact from the bond savings from the refinancing, I mean, I think it was like 300,000 total or whatever savings it is, and I don't even know over what term, that we're able to take some of that money and continue that very good work by our staff to at least start with the major thoroughfares.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, through the chair, we recently received a legal opinion about that, and we will be able to bring that report back to this committee as well.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
I have no recommendations. Any final comments? Any final comments by the city manager?
Thank you to all of you for your patience as we transition into a virtual reality world for our council committee meetings and our council meetings. So thank you for your patience as we work out the little glitches along the way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Same here. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.